The Roundtable is powered by Patreon, including supporters like SCUZZAPHET Gaming, aspiring content creators with style who dive into the world of gaming. You can find awesome, charming Let's Plays on their channel, such as Detroit Become Human, Welcome to Hanwell, and Resident Evil 7. Every Let's Play on this channel is a unique experience all on its own, with voices you better start to remember now before they blow up. They're also on Instagram at SCUZZAPHET. Give them a follow. If you want to support the Roundtable and get a shout out, head over to our Patreon. Link in the description. Shoutouts are our highest tier. Now on to the video. Welcome back to Muni Mayhem. I'm Vox, and surviving the Spiderbites introduced a very interesting plot point. Eclipsa's monster love Globgor was responsible for eating her ex-husband, King Shastacan. And sure, the purpose of this episode was to show that Globgor wasn't as great as Eclipsa painted him to be. At the very least, his character is a lot more morally ambiguous, but out of everything we learned, I think that one really caught fans off guard, mainly due to the backstory of Meteora, who was swapped with a pie folk peasant at birth, Festivia, by Shastacan himself, which I think everyone assumed and would make the most sense to occur after Eclipsa and Globgor were crystallized, imprisoned from Romulus's magic. So what gives? What's the truth? What really happened? We saw actual footage with our own eyes of Meteora being pawned off, but Eclipsa does confirm that Globgor ate Shastacan, and that the truth is a little bit more complicated. Well, I've been running a few scenarios through my head, and I think I figured out what happened. So spoiler warning in case this theory ends up being right. We don't want to ruin the magic. So here's the thing. Globgor being a complete sadist before falling in love with Eclipsa makes sense. Him changing his ways after getting together with Eclipsa makes sense. And him eating King Shastacan after that development makes sense, but it would be in a way where, from his perspective, it makes sense. Globgor loves Eclipsa, and he explained in the Book of Spells that he wants peace between humans and monsters. Eclipsa had no interest in Shastacan, so I don't see Globgor just eating him because, and I don't see Eclipsa going, can you please just get rid of him for me, sweetie? Something awful must have transpired, and I believe it's something we've already seen. Shastacan getting rid of Meteora. We know the populace of Muni and the Magic High Commission especially were terrified by the idea of a monster becoming queen. According to Mina Loveberry, not just any monster, but the most powerful monster within all of Muni. And that statement held to be true. Meteora ended up conquering anyone who stood in her way. She conquered Muni, even if it was for a short while. The thing is though, Meteora only ended up that way because her life was stripped from her, because she was denied the throne. Her life went down the worst path possible. The Magic High Commission was only correct in their assessment because they gave Meteora the life to come to that conclusion. Now, I find it incredibly hard to believe that Eclipsa just abandoned Muni, that she ditched her kingdom without trying to find any compromise between Muni and Globgor. After all, he's royalty himself, the prince, or now king, of darkness. And to reiterate, he wanted unity between monsters and humans. I think Eclipsa only abandoned Muni because Globgor was denied the privilege to be alongside Eclipsa on the throne. Not due to Eclipsa herself, but because of, you guessed it, the Magic High Commission. They didn't trust Globgor. So let's put everything into perspective. If they don't trust Globgor, they don't trust Eclipsa, and they don't trust their child, what would be their proper course of action? To get rid of all three of them. That's right, I think the Magic High Commission's meddling goes far beyond Meteora. I think that they staged everything to occur so they could get rid of Eclipsa and Globgor. I believe the Magic High Commission, despite initially having Eclipsa's trust, broke into the Monster Temple, kidnapped Meteora, and gave her to Shastacan. But Eclipsa didn't know this. She still had trust in the High Commission. So what happened from there? Well, I believe the High Commission actually informed Eclipsa and Globgor that Shastacan was in possession of Meteora. Yet by the time they formed a plan, it was too late. Meteora was gone, and no one was going to spill the beans on where she was. This of course enraged Globgor, and in that moment, he let go of everything he wanted. Peace between humans? Unity? They clearly didn't value that if they got rid of a hybrid. The best of both worlds, a human and a monster. As far as Globgor and Eclipsa were concerned, Meteora was dead. Naturally, Globgor would have wanted revenge. And revenge is exactly what he got. Enraged by the loss of his daughter, he went to the Spiderbites, burned down their village, sought out Shastacan himself, and ate him, falling right into the Magic High Commission's trap, and allowing Roundtable to imprison both Eclipsa and Globgor. They murdered Shastacan, they burned down a village, and they were aided by Globgor's minions, who were monsters. That was painted to be proof in the pudding that monsters are evil, once and for all. Of course, after Globgor was imprisoned, it seems as if monsters no longer had a king, no one to lead them, and they fell under Muni's control, which is why some kingdoms, such as the Spiderbite family, don't mind monsters today. They aren't associated with what Globgor did. They're harmless and much more peaceful now. I think this would be a very compelling route that ties everything together. The Magic High Commission would be further painted in a morally gray area. Globgor and Eclipsa would further be painted in a morally gray area. Both parties would be in the right and the wrong. Because of how things panned out, the Magic High Commission were correct in their assessment of Meteora, and considering what Globgor did to Shastacan and the Spiderbite village, they could argue they were correct in that assessment. But from Globgor's perspective, he fought for peace. He was really pushing for it, and then they took away his daughter, who, as far as he was concerned, was dead. A life for a life. He's arguably justified from that stance. And when all of this comes to light from Star's perspective, she would see both parties as right and wrong, just as she did in Swimsuit. And when a Globgor is inevitably freed, if he isn't still raging, because after all, his daughter is okay, she's once again an infant, and his wife once again has the throne, then maybe he'll be willing to talk. That's the thing about Star versus the forces of evil. What are the forces of evil? We're in the 4th season and we still don't know. Heck, the original title of the show was Star and the Forces of Evil, which, especially right now, would be a way better title, because there's not just one singular entity that Star is opposing. It's an ideology from both sides. And hey, while we're looking at morally gray characters, with as many on-the-nose references they've been giving towards Toffee and Septarians in the season thus far, and Darren Epstein calling him a Magneto-type character in the past, I do still strongly believe he's going to rise out of the shadows soon enough. I do believe the truth is more complicated than it seems. That'll be broken down to, well, everyone's kind of wrong, but also everyone's kind of right. And when the truth of this comes to light, the Kingdom of Muni may have a different tune. Should we hold this prejudice towards monsters when we've taken everything from them? These are the questions I want explored. But what do you guys think? Why do you believe Globgor ate Shastacan? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids, and for my own thoughts, you can find me at OshrickFox. We're also on Instagram. Help the Roundtable grow by either becoming a member of this channel or supporting us over at Patreon. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like and subscribe to the Roundtable so you never miss any great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. OshrickFox, out.